President Obama's amnesty by edict has always been about adding new Democrats to the voter rolls, and recent action by the Department of Homeland Security provides further proof. Sources at the Department of Homeland Security report to PJ Media that the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services is reallocating significant resources away from a computer system, the electronic immigration system, to sending letters to all 9 million green card holders urging them to naturalize prior to the 2016 election. This effort is part of the DHS Task Force on New Americans. PJ Media has obtained an internal Dear Colleague letter written by Leon Rodriguez, the director and co-chair of the Task Force on New Americans. The letter refers to a White House report called Strengthening Communities by Welcoming All Residents. Leon Rodriguez has a tainted history. Not only was he a central player in the radicalization of Eric Holder's Civil Rights Division, he also undertook a purportedly illegal search of a government employee's computer in Montgomery County, Maryland. I do not know this. I'm just reading what the story says. Now, the Rodriguez letter states, quote, "This report outlines an immigrant integration plan that will advance our nation's global competitiveness," sounds like Jeb Bush, "and ensure that the people who live in this country can fully participate in their communities." Full participation is a term commonly used to include voting rights. Now, to that end, resources within DHS have been redirected toward pushing as many aliens and non-citizens as possible to full citizenship status, so they may fully participate in the 2016 presidential election. For example, the internal DHS letter states one aim is to strengthen existing pathways to naturalization and promote civic engagement. Sounds so lovely. Naturalization plus mobilization is the explicit aim of the DHS Task Force on New Americans. Multiple sources at DHS confirm that political appointees are prioritizing naturalization ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Empirical voting patterns among immigrants from minority communities demonstrate these new voters will overwhelmingly vote for Democrats. Now, if the empirical rates of support for Democrats continued among these newly naturalized minority voters, Democrats could enjoy an electoral net benefit of millions of new voters in the 2016 presidential election. This is the kind of institutionalized corruption that is worse than any other kind of corruption, because you have hooligans, you have slimeballs, you have sleazebags who've squirreled themselves away inside powerful positions in the bureaucracy. And as they work in the shadows, you have no idea who they are and what they're doing. And this completely undermines any notion of representative government and the consent and the will of the people. The reason why you're not consulted about these things is because they know you will object. And so they do it on their own. This is why I say we are in a post-constitutional America. None of this is legitimate. None of it. Other DHS sources report that racial interest groups such as La Raza, the Race, and the American Immigration Lawyers Association have been playing a central and influential role in rewriting the administration's immigration policies, both the public policies as well as internal and largely unseen guidelines. So here we have the shadow government, which is the real government. So much of it is a Potemkin village. It's just a front, like a storefront. But when you go behind, you have all these worker bees, all these radical left-wing types, working hard to fundamentally transform America. Once again, down with the consent of the governed, down with the will of the people. None of that matters. You are to be managed. You are to be lorded over. And eventually, you're to be coerced. Because the game here is not only Democrat votes, the game here is to fundamentally transform America. And apparently, these people seem to think that means turn us into Central and South America. Unbelievable. One DHS official who disagrees with the administration's policies told me DHS, quote, intends to recapture unused visas from years past to grant more visas. That is green card and green card status. In addition to the visa blizzard, the agency will also allow folks to jam in applications during that blizzard, knowing that the visa application beneficiary is not eligible for the visa, but they'll give the visa anyway. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we have been fundamentally transformed. This is Obama in Wonderland. We have been turned inside out. It's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. It's being institutionalized but it has already begun. It's already, in many respects, in place. So you can see what's going on here, manipulating our immigration system, manipulating the nature of citizenship, which is so deplorable, manipulating our elections. This is why Holder jumped up and down about voting rights in terms of voting IDs and so forth. They're stuffing the ballot boxes.